Welcome back. Next, let's focus on preventing duplicate jokes. So making sure that when we fetch 10 new jokes, they are unique, we haven't seen them before, they're not duplicates. Now, it's kind of unlikely early on because there are a ton of jokes in that API. I don't know exactly how many, but there are a lot of them. But eventually, we will get duplicates, and right now, we don't have any logic to prevent that. So I have 20 jokes loaded, I think. I clicked it once. If I click it again, of course, we're going to get 10 new ones, and there's a potential that one of these is duplicated in here, and we wouldn't be catching it right now. So what we could do is basically make an array and keep track of all of the jokes we've seen. So if we look in joke list, we already have that in the state. This contains every joke that we've seen, all 30 of them. And then if we go to fetch a new joke, or 10 new jokes, for each one, we could just run through this entire array and check. Let's say the new joke we got back is, I couldn't get a reservation at the library. They were completely booked. Well, if we wanted to check if that was in here, if we've seen it before, we would have to manually, we'd write code to check every single index of the array, right? We'd start here, and then is this it? Does this one say something about the library? Does this one say something about the library? All the way down. If you're not familiar with big O notation, basically as the size of the array grows, the number of things we have to check is going to grow. If we have n items in the array, we're going to have to check potentially n times at most, if our thing is at the very end, or if it's not in here at all. But there's a faster, better way of checking if something is a duplicate, which is to use a data structure called a set. So we've actually seen these earlier in the course. I just didn't really explain much about them. A set is a data structure that contains only unique values, and it is very fast to check if a given value is contained in that set already or not. Because of the way sets work, you actually don't have to, or your code isn't going to have to check every single part of that set to see if there's a match. It uses an algorithm to map it into this thing called a hash, and it doesn't really matter in this course. I do have a course where I talk about algorithms and sets and how they work, but for now, just know that it's a lot faster to use a set. And the way that a set works, we would make it like let seen jokes equals new set, and then we just add in to that set. So seen jokes dot add, and then we add in a string value like knock knock. Imagine that was the text of a joke, and then all we do is check seen jokes dot has knock knock, and if it matches, we get true. If it doesn't have it, like if we checked for some other joke, we get false. Okay, so we're going to use a set to help us. It's faster. But the question becomes, where does that set go? So we're going to have a separate structure called seen jokes or already loaded jokes or something like that. It's not going to go in the state because every time we add a new joke to it, that would cause a re-render. It doesn't need to be in the state. It's just a piece of data we need for internal use. We're not going to be using it in render. It's not going to affect the view. So instead, I'm actually going to make it on the component itself. So this dot seen jokes equals new set. But if we just do this here, this dot seen jokes equals new set, we have an empty set. But at this point, there might already be jokes loaded. Like when I refresh the page right now, we have 30 something jokes in local storage. So we want to make sure we're adding all of those into our set so that when we load 10 more jokes, we can compare those new jokes to these 30 jokes. So the easiest way, and this isn't terribly efficient, but we're going to map the existing this.state.jokes. And all I want is the text of each joke, just like that. So this is going to give us a set containing the existing text of the jokes. We don't want the whole object with the ID and the votes. We just want the text. So let's print out seen jokes so you can see what it looks like at the beginning. And we have 30 items in there, and each one is just a string. So now it's a lot easier for us to check if something is in there. We can just do seen jokes dot has something. So inside of the get jokes method where we're loading new jokes, instead of just automatically pushing in the joke, we're going to check if this dot seen jokes dot has, and we want to compare it to the new joke, which is res.data.joke. And it might be nice to make a variable. Let's call it new joke. And then here we can do new joke, and then down here, same thing. So if this.seenJokes.has new joke, let's actually reverse it. So if it doesn't have that joke, we're going to push it in. Otherwise, let's just console.log found a duplicate and console.log the joke itself, new joke. Hopefully we'll encounter a duplicate so I can prove that this works. So let's try it. Let's come over here and reload the page. Okay, so here's our initial 30. I'm going to get new jokes, no duplicates. Okay, we found a duplicate. Perfect. So if we look at this duplicate here, it says, I don't trust stairs. They're always up to something. And if we look at our set, it contains somewhere, I don't trust stairs, right here. There we go. But if we went to React and looked at our dev tools, we would see that our state.jokes is still 50 items long. So we didn't reject it and not load another alternate joke, because then we would have 49 items. We just kept looping in the while loop, and that's why I didn't hard code it as a for loop. I made it a while loop so that if we do find a duplicate, we're using jokes.length. So jokes.length isn't going to grow, it's not going to increase. So this loop is going to keep looping until we actually get 10 new jokes. All right, so we're preventing duplicates. That's all we need to do for that. One thing we could do to improve get jokes is to introduce a little bit of error handling. If the API cut us off, if somehow the URL was messed up, if we requested, if the API goes down for maintenance or something, right now our app is just going to get hung up because we're not going to get a response back, or it's going to crash because there's not going to be res.data.joke. So let's wrap everything in a try. So just at the top right here, we'll do try. And I'm going to have it go all the way down to after the local storage right there. And then we'll catch any errors, and we can just alert the error for now. Eventually it would be nice if we displayed a message with that error, but this is fine. So now let's say that we request a URL that doesn't exist, like this. If we try and get new jokes, we're going to get this alert that says network error, and we're still not really handling everything. So maybe what we should do is just set this.set state loading is now false. If we try it again, get new jokes that doesn't exist, it just takes us back here. And that's fine. Okay, so let's actually fix the URL again. Make sure it is working. We can get new jokes, and there aren't any duplicates, or if there are, we'd see them printed out. Okay, so that is it for preventing duplicates. The last few touches we have in the next video will mainly be around sorting these. Right now, we can upvote something and the order doesn't change. In addition, we'll work on the button, making it look nicer, and some simple animations. So not a whole lot left.